Today, we're going to be comparing the Crystal Sky versus the DJI Smart Controller and determine which one is right for you. Stick around. What's up and welcome back, everyone. For those of you who are new here, my name is Original Dobo, and here on my channel, I do drone and tech related content. So if that sounds interesting at all, you may want to hit the subscribe button before you leave my video. Today, we're looking at the Crystal Sky and the DJI Smart Controller. These are two very hot items right now, and one of them is brand new and the other is 2 years old. So which one's right for you? Well, they're similar but very different, but before we get too far ahead of the game, I want to just go ahead and throw out the caveat that if you're going to choose the Smart Controller, that right now they only work with the two new Mavics, the Mavic 2 Zoom and the Mavic 2 Pro. Currently, as the time of this filming of this video, it doesn't work with enterprise products, but support for those products are coming soon, according to DJI. So with that being said, let's jump into the video. So I'm going to be talking about these from two different perspectives, or actually, let's say 4 different perspectives: build quality, battery, visibility, and performance. Those are all things that I look at when I buy a new device, and this should really be no different. Actually, I don't really look at visibility when I buy a device, but these I did. So let's talk about the overall build quality, because they're very different for different reasons. The Smart Controller feels fantastic in the hand. It's a bit hefty, but slim. It's really easy to travel with. It was a breeze getting up and back from Philadelphia to Florida with it, and I was able to slide it in my Peak Design bag very easily, and it was awesome until I got to TSA and they thought it was a tablet, and then it had to come out of the bag. But otherwise, it was awesome. Then you have the Crystal Sky, which isn't meant to be held at all, but I can speak personally from experience that I dropped that monitor from about chest height onto the concrete, and it walked away with just a couple of scratches and didn't crack the screen, and it works flawlessly. So that is awesome. The Crystal Sky has 2 SD card slots, while the Smart Controller only has a single SD card slot. Also, this Crystal Sky has a microphone, or I should say a headphone jack on it, while the Smart Controller does not. Now, why does that matter? Well, sometimes people like to monitor their audio, and I'm no different. I usually fly with AirPods in, but since AirPods wouldn't work on either one of these devices, or at least I don't think they would, you would need a set of headphones if you want to monitor audio. So keep that in mind. It's only going to work on the Crystal Sky. However, you probably could put a USB-C to headphone jack on the Smart Controller and get the same thing. As far as ports go, you get HDMI in on both, or I should say HDMI out on both, which is pretty cool. Not only that, there are plenty more buttons along the side of the Crystal Sky than there are on the Smart Controller. Weight-wise, they're pretty similar in weight. However, I do like the fact that I can remove the battery on the Crystal Sky, although I do like the way the buttons overall feel on the Smart Controller. So if I had to give the nod in any one direction for this, it's going to be towards the Smart Controller, because I just feel like the buttons are just more responsive and not as mushy. Talking about battery life is a big deal. And right out of the gate, before explaining too terrible much, Crystal Sky wins this in a heartbeat. You can get 7+ hours out of the Crystal Sky on max brightness without even trying. The fact that I can pull that battery out and pop another one in is awesome. And that's something I really do miss, having the Smart Controller and using the Smart Controller on a regular basis. I'm getting about 3.5–4 hours of use with 100% brightness out of the Smart Controller, which really isn't bad for what it's doing, considering that there is a lot of tech and there's a lot going on. But the 7 hours of use and the fact that you have a removable battery on the Crystal Sky just makes it pretty awesome, which I wish all things had removable batteries, but I can understand that we're moving to a world where that's not how it goes. Visibility outside between these two are pretty similar, as you can expect. They're both 1,000 nits of brightness. I do feel the Crystal Sky's screen just does a slight bit better out in direct sunlight with reflecting the sun and glare. Every time I've flown with the Smart Controller, I've always felt that there's a bit of glare coming off of the screen. Now, I did go ahead and put a screen protector on my Smart Controller, but even before that, it was just as reflective. Now, I could just buy a matte screen protector and call it a day, but I really don't like that. I feel like that sort of distorts the quality that I'm getting back down to my controller. So I wish there was a OEM solution straight out of the box that helped reflect some of that glare. It's not a big deal and it hasn't bothered me yet, but I just have to mention that while we're comparing the two. And then I think the last thing I really want to touch on is performance. Now, I did do a synthetic benchmark between these two because I was curious as to what they would do and which one was actually faster. Was there an incremental improvement or a massive improvement? And the results actually spoke for themselves. I started both benchmarks at the same time using Geekbench, and wow, it took 6 minutes for these chipsets to finish the process. Granted, the smart controller finished way earlier, but it took 6 minutes in total to get done. And the Crystal Sky was about 25% slower throughout the whole process. Now, if you're curious about what chipset these do have, basically an unknown chipset to me. I've never heard of it, but it's in a lot of generic smartphones. So you're not going to find any sort of Snapdragon processors here or any sort of, higher end chipsets, which is a little bit disappointing because you sort of want this to be just a bit better than a smartphone when you need it to be, but you're just getting a generic run-of-the-mill chipset, which sort of sucks. As far as performance goes, hands down, the smart controller is going to be the more future-proof purchase. So if you're basing this all on whether or not this is going to be able to handle future Android updates, the smart controller definitely can. Speaking about updates, the Crystal Sky is running 5.1.1, while the smart controller is running a newer version, not the newest version, but 7.1.2. It's a really strange move that DJI has opted to go with older operating systems. However, they do still do security updates on all of these devices, which I find pretty interesting. But those are all the big differences. Like I said, if you don't have any plan on using anything other than a Mavic 2 or Mavic 2 Pro or Zoom, then the smart controller is a great buy. It's easy to travel with, the battery life isn't that bad, and you don't need any cables or setup time. But if you're using any other product or just don't like the idea of a screen sitting below your controller, the Crystal Sky would definitely make a great purchase. Now, I want to thank DroneWorks for sending both of these out to me so I can take a look at. I wouldn't be able to do these reviews or compare or even experience these without them. So thank you very much. And every time you guys click a link from them down below, it lets them know that you saw my video. So make sure you definitely do that. Drop them some love. Yeah, so that's going to do it. I'm a big fan of the smart controller. I've been using that a lot. But with my enterprise products, I still have been leaning towards the Crystal Sky. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. Have you used either one of these? Do you plan on getting the smart controller or a Crystal Sky? Drop a comment down below. And as always, stay original.